Starting us off in at number 10, FNAF 1 and 2. You can play through some of the original FNAF games in Help Wanted, however, these are actually terrifying. Aside from always having to keep the cameras on, you can also get jump scared by Foxy instantly if you poke your head out the office, and then you have to watch the animatronics walking right next to the door as they move past you into the office. While this makes it scary, the real terrifying part is scale. These animatronics are so freaking huge when you look at them from this perspective. When it's a stationary 2D camera and they aren't right next to you, it's fine, but adding that extra dimension really shows how small everything is in comparison, and it's evident from the main loading screen that you aren't as tall as you normally are. Being taller than your enemy can give you a sense of power. It's why people aren't scared in the first game. It's because of the sense of scale. FNAF 1 and 2 do it wonderfully in VR. Number 9, Funtime Foxy Dark Room. What's worse than being alone in a pitch black room, only being able to see where you are going with the aid of a camera flash? Nothing, other than the 8 numbers that come after this. The Funtime Foxy Dark Room is one of the most terrifying and difficult dark rooms in the game, hence why it's the last one you unlock. Nothing but you and James Charles looking Foxy trying to get you to say hi sisters. And the blacklight mode is even worse. The room is filled with all the other animatronics and it makes it extremely terrifying. The animatronics move with the light so you see where you're going, but so do they. It's one of the worst things in the game, and honestly I'm thinking I should have put it higher on this list, but I mean, like, these next 8 are terrifying, man. They're freaky. Hardcore freaky. And it ain't Trick or Treat. This game is like if you want to go up to the house that clearly has someone sitting on a chair in a scarecrow costume who's waiting to scare you. That's how it feels. Because they all get some sick form of joy out of scaring children. Look, I won't kink shame on this channel unless it's this. Okay? This happened to me so many times as a kid, I'm deeply ashamed of how many times it got me. Well, basically, if you play this game, it's that same situation, only after opening the door. You ring the bell and then someone will come to answer the door. You must be really creepy and look inside the windows to see who is coming to the door and wear the right mask. Basically, if an animatronic is missing, it's the one at the door. But sometimes Mangle is there and blocks the way unless you wear her mask, and then you gotta look back at the window, you gotta take it off and stuff. It's terrifying, and they wait a good few seconds before opening the door, only making the anxiety worse. Plus, if it's not it, you don't see it, you just get jump scared. And at 7, Arizona Sunshine. Built exclusively for virtual reality, Arizona Sunshine drops you in the middle of a zombie apocalypse, handle weapons with real-life movements, and freely explore a post-apocalyptic world. Put your survival skills to the test in VR and see if your zombie survival plan would really work. Use the environment and a variety of weapons to dispose of walking corpses, and put the undead back to rest in a more thrilling and exhilarating way than ever before. How long will you last? Will you be able to escape and get rescued? Is this basically Left 4 Dead in virtual reality? No, there aren't any witches or spitters or okay boomers, but some zombies run. In all honesty, any zombie shooter in VR is gonna be scary. Pavlov has a zombies mode, but Arizona Sunshine has more to it than just a knockoff COD Zombies. Arizona Sunshine is one of the most popular VR games for both single player and multiplayer gaming, with at least 4,500 players if you want to hop online and wreck some zombies. But be warned, zombies come from all sides, and if one pops up behind you, you're as dead as my aspirations to become a pop star like Hannah Montana. Anyone else remember Bucky, Kentucky? And at 6, Richie's Plank Experience. You're on a plank, 80 stories high. Your knees are weak, your palms are sweaty, your body is shaking. You have a choice. Do you walk or do you freeze? This game is the only game that lets you clone a real world object into a virtual world for added immersion. You can turn a real wooden plank into the one that you experience in VR 80 stories high. Yeah, that's terrifying. And if that's not bad enough, there are additional game modes like rocket racing, firefighting, and missile mode. But there is also a nightmare mode. Sounds like a Five Nights at Freddy's collab. Engaging this mode will spawn plenty of giant spiders all over the elevator and one monster of a spider coming towards you. This game mode will kick you off the plank, then you will see a whole cluster of terrifying images, and you may get hit by a bus. And at 5, Duck Season. Anyone else want a psychopathic man in a dog costume to come out of Duck Hunt and kill your mom and you? No? Well, if that's not your forte, then stay away from Duck Season, a VR game that's basically Duck Hunt until your mom tells you to shoot the dog, which sets off a chain of events that leads to your mother dying, you getting trapped in the game, the dog getting killed outside your home, and a variety of other endings. Because this game has 7 of them, baby. While you can play through the game without shooting the dog, you know you want to do it. Plus, this game has like 6 other mini games inside it that you can play on your knockoff NES. So if you enjoy Duck Hunt or the murder of your family, be sure to get Duck Season, because that's what the kids are into now, right? Right? And at 4, Wilson's Heart. the only VR game I know of that's designed in black and white. If you've ever wanted to be in a silent film before Technicolor was created, then this game is for you. Take on the role of Robert Wilson, a middle-aged man who wakes up in an abandoned hospital wearing nothing but a hospital gown. When you try and figure out what happened and where you are, you encounter a murderous teddy bear. SCP-1048, anyone? As you continue, you will see more and more supernatural phenomena occur before your eyes, and soon you'll honestly be thinking that you belong in that hospital. But now I can hear you asking, why is it called Wilson's Heart? Well, I'm pretty sure you can figure that out. And if not, maybe you should play the game and see for yourself. In a 3-corn maze. If needing to stay still and constantly be stalked is bad, what about being stalked by a giant fox that is glowing from the inside with a killer instinct and the height advantage? Well, welcome to the corn maze minigame. The corn maze is by far the best minigame in the DLC for Help Wanted. You have to walk around a maze while hiding from Grim Foxy and looking for 4 different keys. You can get only 1 key and escape, or you can go for all 4, the glitch key, and then the secret ending, which I've gotten personally. However, this is incredibly intense. You get used to Foxy, but damn, those crows that are sitting on the ground in clusters get me every single time because I'm too busy looking for keys when I should be looking out for crows. Can you tell that this game and this series in general stresses me out? I get what MapPad is talking about now. Talking about this series so much can be very draining, and there was a few months where all we talked about was FNAF. Also, for anyone wondering, we kept doing that because you all loved those videos and they were incredibly popular and still are. We get more views and likes on the FNAF videos than anything else, and that's why we do them so often. So if you want more of a certain thing, share the video and be sure you hit like if you did like that video. It helps us know what you like and tells us that you want more. The hallway minigame is hands down the scariest minigame in the Curse of Dreadbear DLC. Having nowhere to go but forward towards all the most terrifying animatronics doesn't really help. You need to walk down a hallway where Nightmare Foxy will randomly appear in front of you with the lightning, which will make you need to stop moving. But you can't stop just anywhere because Bonnie and Chica are placed at the doors that go the length of the hallway on their iconic signs, of course. So if you get stuck outside on one of those doors, you're screwed. That kinda sounds easy though, right? Just wait between doors until you see Foxy and know he's not there. Well, guess what? Once you get halfway down the hall, Nightmare Freddy will decide to join the party and start walking up the hall, making sure you can't stay still for too long because he will catch up to you if you do, ending the game. This is just a whole mess, and it's one of the most terrifying things to play. Watching it is hilarious, but playing it is a hard no for me. That's a hard no. Finally, in at number 1, Nightmare Fredbear. The Nightmare animatronics are some of the scariest animatronics in the games, and while most of them get featured in Help Wanted, only Nightmare Fredbear gets his own game. This animatronic is the scariest animatronic in the game to me, especially because the one called Nightmare doesn't make an appearance. Having to deal with watching this towering monster of a Scooby-Doo looking guy running at you in order to eat your flesh is terrifying, and when he walks into the room if you're at the wrong door, holy sweet Lord Jesus. I was watching NVR play this and he literally started singing the Scooby-Doo theme song while trying to calm himself down. But it honestly only made it worse. He should have sung the one we all know, you know, the really catchy one. But what's new, Scooby-Doo? We're coming after you. Please do not copyright me. Either freaking way, this game is too scary. What's new, Scooby-Doo? Boom! Oh, what have I become? What has this series done to me? In a 10, storm chasing. What's more terrifying than hearing about a tornado that has nearly started forming just a few kilometers away from your apartment? Chasing one intentionally. While it may look cool in the movies or on TV, actually doing this in real life would be terrifying, especially when you're constantly putting your life at risk to see a tornado, something which everyone can see if you just watch The Wizard of Oz. This game may not be the scariest on this list, but it would be interesting and it would be fairly scary. If you see a cow or some form of debris fly across the screen like it was right in front of your face. And sure, people say that this will happen when pigs fly, but it's when cows fly that manure hits the fan. Being able to chase a storm in VR would not only be a safer way to do that, but we could also give it some otherworldly feel and maybe give it a story that sucks you into another world. When I was in elementary school, I had an idea for a movie called Through a Tornado. Oh man, I don't want to talk about this. And I had gotten so far as to even writing parts of it, but I never did anything with it, mostly because it was a stupid idea. But I mean, I could do better now. Maybe I should. The way outside is looking, I'm gonna have to. Number 9, solitary confinement. Imagine you're stuck, locked in solitary confinement. It's pitch black, nobody is with you, but you can hear them. I think this game could be done in stages and maybe have a sanity meter based on how calm you can stay. The more restless you are, the more the bar ticks down, and the lower it gets, the more intense the noises get, and eventually you could even start to actually hallucinate. And I think that's where this game could really shine. You get locked in, but the real story doesn't start until you go crazy enough to start hallucinating the actual story of the game. And at the end, when your mind comes back into real world, you've somehow escaped. Or have you? Of course the story would be terrifying and not real. Or is it? Number 8, Nightmare on Elm Street. I'm sure we all know Nightmare on Elm Street, the horrifying world where Freddy Krueger will invade your dreams and kill you through them because he can. And if you don't know him, I'm sure you know Scary Terry. Having a Nightmare on Elm Street VR game would be honestly the height of VR horror. Imagine having to fight off Freddy Krueger. I mean, we've had The Exorcist, Paranormal Activity, and other horror movies turned into games or VR games. Why not a classic horror that everyone loves? Especially if it's realistic and really done well. I know that it's difficult to do, but being able to really see Freddy's pores or whatever the hell those things are, or having a lot of detail would make this game incredibly spooky. Oh, and I can just imagine the horrific scenes that would unfold in front of your eyes. Oh man, honestly, I'm surprised that I didn't put this higher on the list. I mean, I need this right now. I'm not gonna play it, but I need it to be a thing, so that Eddie VR can play it, and I can watch him play it and suffer. And it's 7, Foxy Repair. Out of all the animatronic repairs, the Foxy one has to be the most horrifying. He is constantly moving, and this is by far the most intense version of any animatronic repair. You need to keep an eye on Foxy at all times while searching for specific colored batteries, and if you mess up or he punches you in the face, he disappears and then just comes sprinting at you like me when I hear that there's a deal on Steam. When I hear that, I book it home, man. I need my cheap games. It's still horrifying no matter what, and while yes, it may not be an instant jump scare, you can see him running at you and is one of the worst things in the world. Plus, in blacklight mode, he's all burnt up and destroyed, and it looks like the devil has come through and he's using Foxy as a meat suit. He's glowing and just burnt, and it's so intense. Just don't play it, okay? Don't play this game. I'm traumatized. And at 6, Entered Vent Repair. The Mangle Vent Repair I've played on the channel, but Entered Vent Repair I was just way too scared. It's intimidating, okay? It's horrific. While in the Mangle Vent Repair, you can prolong the situation as long as you want by looking at Mangle, and the Entered Repair, you have to be quick. And the puzzles are even crazier. You need to follow wires, hit the right buttons, and then move gears and pipes around to connect stuff. It's so confusing and intense. I don't want to solve the puzzles when I'm scared, okay? And I'll be scared the whole time. Have you seen me play this game? I get scared for every single little thing that happens, especially the fan. I can't even get through the freaking Foxy pirate ride without going absolutely horrific, especially with those helpy sections. Yeah, that's right, I don't forget. Halfway through at number 5, Fun with Plush Trap. This is probably the most difficult game in the entirety of Help Wanted. You have to actively turn off your flashlight to have them move closer to you. I don't know why this had to happen, but this is one of the most terrifying mini-games. Sure, it happens with Nightmare Balloon Boy, but for some reason I just think it's creepier with Plush Trap. He's a small little yellow rabbit with murder in his eyes and claws to do the killing. He is just so creepy. There was a short story written about him in the new FNAF books, and he's just a tiny version of Springtrap who is one of the scariest characters in the game. I don't know why I find him so creepy, but I do. Okay? I do. While FNAF 3 may have less animatronics, it has more mechanics, introducing the separate air vent camera, the ability to hallucinate, and the systems that you need rebooting, and you have one hell of a minigame. With 5 nights of this crap along with the jump scares that come along with the ventilation issues, it can just be hard to keep your cool. Sure, you can keep Springtrap in the furthest corner, but if a system goes down, you're hella panicking and it's clear why. This game is one of the scariest this series has released, with jump scares that don't kill you, so you need to keep on your game after the fact, plus the almighty Springtrap character coming after you. You're totally screwed if you think that this will be a normal FNAF playthrough. While things may be technically easier since there's only one animatronic and you can lure them around, it's still horrifying and there is no way I want to play this ever again. Why do I play this game? Getting close to the end, and at number 3, Buried Alive. Did someone say Riverdale? Being buried alive is potentially the worst way to go, especially since, you know, you're not dead yet. This may be the most terrifying thing that can ever happen to you, or even the most terrifying thing that you can think about having happen to you. Thinking about it happening is already terrifying enough. If you think about it, at least it isn't happening. Dealing with it happening right in front of your face must be incredibly horrific. I'm honestly really scared about being buried alive, and watching it happen to me, even if it isn't really happening, makes me shudder. And I don't think that even if this game was real, I would play it. Even if streaming it would get me millions of views. Actually, on second thought. Number 2, Supernatural Hunting VR. Have you ever wanted to be a Winchester, go out saving people and hunting things? You know, the family business. Well, if we had this VR game, we could. A VR game all about hunting the supernatural would be incredible. Obviously not officially licensed because that would cost way too much money, but I have the perfect idea in mind, and the way I see it, it's incredible. You could have a difficulty meter that turns off the guides the more you go up, and you could canvass witnesses, try and figure out what you're dealing with, and if it was a full game, you could even have a journal or something that you could take notes in for the next time. Obviously, the notes would be filled in automatically as soon as you discover a ghost or whatever it is, and you could just like look back at them for the future, but oh my god, I just think that would be so cool. And honestly, if it was multiplayer, holy crap sticks, I'm not putting this at number 1 because I kind of want to make it myself and I don't want too much attention to it, but would anyone actually like play it? If you have a VR headset and would play it, let me know in the comments, because I have a course on how to make a VR game. I could in theory do it, but I want people to actually play it. Finally, in number 1, Salem Witch Trials. The Salem Witch Trials is one of the most famous witch trials in history. Now they're just about false accusations. But in all honesty, do you know how cool this game would be if you had to hunt down a witch in a forest or something, but then watch her get burnt at the stake, but she was actually a witch, so while she's being burnt, she's like trying to summon monsters that are scaring you and trying to set her free, and then she could be jump scaring you, and then there would be bursts of blue and green flames as she tried to desperately save herself before ultimately escaping and making you need to chase her down again. It sounds so good! If you can make a game and haven't yet, make this one. I will lose my crap and I'll play it on this channel. Hopefully.
Starting us off in at number 10, Until Dawn Rush of Blood. One of the first horror titles announced for VR headsets, Until Dawn Rush of Blood still holds up really well, despite it diving into some pretty cliche horror territory at times. Now you're placed on a roller coaster, a horror themed one of course, and must shoot inanimate objects and live enemies in order to survive. So it is a rail shooter essentially, but it's super fun and filled with the kinds of scares that you'd expect from Supermassive Games, the developer. It is currently available for the PlayStation VR. In at number 9, Resident Evil 7 VR. Okay, so we want to preface this number by saying that we don't think Resident Evil 7 is better in VR by any means. The VR version still has some complications, and the slow burn tension and dread that the regular game does so well fails to translate into the VR version. That being said, its jump scares in the VR version are arguably more petrifying. Several critics have even noted how disorienting the jump scares have now become, adding an extra element to your escape or retaliation, often making it more challenging or difficult. So if that's kind of up your alley, you should definitely check it out. It's currently available for the PlayStation VR. Moving on to number 8, Doom VFR. Wanna blow up demons in VR? Yes! Well, now you can. You can also get a solid scare out of it too. While many would argue that Doom is not in fact a horror game, there is something especially terrifying about how the game's mechanics change in VR. And hey, demons are scary, you guys. The title boldly embraces the momentum we expect from a Doom game and makes it one of the fastest paced VR titles out there to date. Plus it has a 6-hour campaign with all new levels and lets you get up close and personal with some terrifying demon foes. So really, there's something for everyone here.
And it's 7, Aragog. If you've watched any of the Scary VR Games videos on this channel before, you'll know that I hate spiders. I constantly mention Skyrim or any other video game in VR that has a giant spider, because oh my god, it's one of the most terrible things that you can create and you should be ashamed of yourself. Sorry, still not over the fact that I accidentally ran into one in Skyrim. Yeah, I had taken out a bunch of Forsworn and I walked up some stairs and then BOOM! Giant freaking frostbite spider right in my freaking face. I was standing right on top of it. Sorry, the actual game. If you've seen the second Harry Potter movie, I'm sure you'll know about the scene with Aragog, where all the spiders attack and it's just one of the worst things J.K. Rowling has ever allowed to happen. Yeah, that, in VR. Just that, not the actual game, no objective other than surviving, just run away from a million big spiders. That would be the worst thing ever. Okay? I actually don't want this. Why did I suggest this? That's a terrible idea. Can I take it off the list? Is it too late? Really? And at 6, Venom. Venom is a bad mamma jamma and an incredible character. I personally love the movie and feel like it would have been even better if it was rated R. However, even if it wasn't, a Venom VR video game would be terrifying, awesome, and absolute perfection if done right. They have the Spider-Man VR experiences, I know, but imagine a full-blown horror Spider-Man game starring Venom as the protagonist and Carnage as the antagonist. Do you know how incredible that would be? I mean, sure, we have Iron Man VR, but that's exclusive to PlayStation. I want a game where I can turn into a symbiote and scare the hell out of people, but then launch webbing out of my wrists and go off to find the dude who just destroyed an entire city block. I want him to jump scare me. I want to see him kill in the most gruesome fashion. Even though I hate horror in VR, I will play that game because it sounds so damn good. If you're not a fan of Marvel or hell even Spider-Man, you won't understand how incredible that sounds, but oh boy do I. I'm salivating just thinking about it. And if you don't agree, I'll bite off your arms, then your legs, then I'll bite your face right off your head. Then you'll just be some faceless, armless, legless thing rolling around in the street like a turd in the wind. I don't know if that was Venom or Miley Cyrus. Halfway through number 5, Saw. Need I say more? The famous horror film series Saw would be absolutely horrific in VR. Being put through traps original to the game, as well as the iconic ones like the reverse bear trap, would be such an incredibly intense VR experience. And imagine if it was multiplayer as well and you'd be given specific tasks based on that, or you'd be racing to see who could get the trap off first. Oh my god. Just, like, imagine opening your eyes to see a reverse bear trap on your face. Like, holy crap, what a feeling. I can feel it now. Oh, I'm curling up into a ball. Okay, going down. I've only seen the Saw movies once and oh my god. Imagine that experience in VR and how intense and gut-wrenching that would be. And you could see other players or something losing to the trap, or maybe he's just throwing a few NPCs scripted to die to make you work faster, because if they do it first, you're toast. Oh man, this is something we really need right now. Literally the title of this video. It wouldn't even be your typical horror. It would be more of a psychological horror and just so incredibly good. Oh my god, if you'd play this, let me know in the comments what traps you'd like to see featured in that game. Also, hopefully none of these are already games, otherwise I'll just look foolish. Also, if this does end up being a game, I'm not playing it. No.
Up next in our number 3 spot, The Exorcist Legion VR. There have been some subpar Exorcist games that have popped up online in the past, but this title, which serves to be the best video game adaptation of the franchise, is one that will scare the crap out of you. It is creepy as hell. The Exorcist Legion VR does not try to make standard game mechanics work for it. Instead, it comes off as more of an interactive VR experience, and it works really well that way. There's 5 episodes, each that begin with you in a homicide department at a Boston PD precinct, going over files for the cases that you're about to investigate. While the chapters are relatively short, they pack a whole lot of punch, and it'll leave you pretty mortified, which I guess is the goal here, isn't it? It's available for the Vive and the Oculus Rift. In our number 2 spot, Alien Isolation. So this one is actually an unofficial VR mod of Alien Isolation, but do not be fooled by that. Its quality is fantastic, and it's one of the best horror VR games out there to date. Some have even argued that it's the best video game adaptation of the sci-fi horror franchise in general, that franchise being Alien. Essentially, you must navigate your way around the space station avoiding the xenomorphs, hiding, sneaking, and with no weapons whatsoever. So yeah, it is a very terrifying process, my friends. It is available on the Rift and the Vive.
And at 10, VR Chat. VR Chat is probably the most popular game on this list, with over 65,000 players thanks to its cross-platform multiplayer and its ability to be played without virtual reality. I'm sure all of you have heard about this game. It's basically a giant online chat room that you can experience in VR, but there's also custom game modes and games that you can play with your friends. If you're curious, it's the game that the boys use when they're like toothbrushes, and it's how they were playing Fall Guys in VR. I feel like that would be a fun video, but I doubt I'd be able to win it. Cue Sad Grian meme. The game is free to play and is available on Steam, which is pretty sick, because I'm sure everyone who plays games on PC uses Steam, and it just makes things easier when you can invite people and make parties and stuff. VR Chat is alright, but I honestly I'm more of like a gamer that wants something to do, so like games like The Forest or Blade and Sorcery, like where I can do whatever I want but there's always something to do and it's easily accessible, instead of just like standing around as a toothbrush or a banana. And at 9, KFC the hard way. The hard way is basically a euphemism for me whenever I think about KFC, but in the context of this game, it's a KFC virtual training escape room. Yep. This is also officially licensed and was created as a marketing tactic by Wyden and Kennedy for the KFC franchise. KFC has always been creative when it comes to advertising and marketing. The KFC bucket that was also a photo printer, sending a KFC sandwich to space, I think they did that right, a straight up OG food battle with Popeye's chicken sandwich, and the good old Colonel Sanders anime dating sim game that straight up looks like an episode of Food Wars. The game is free to play but is only available on the Oculus Store, meaning you PSVR and Vive users are gonna miss out, unless you have that program that allows you to get Oculus Store games on the Vive, but I don't condone nor approve the use of that program, at least officially. And at 8, traffic cop. Have you ever wanted to be a 1950s traffic cop that gets trash thrown at them as frustrated drivers cruise on by? Well, if you answered no, then you clicked on the wrong video. Traffic cop is a virtual reality game that puts you smack dab in the middle of a busy intersection. Direct traffic, dodge flying food unless you're hungry, unlock bonus rounds, hunt birds, and fight aliens as even the most normal traffic cops of the 1950s did. Don't worry, PETA, the birds you fight aren't real birds or even video game birds. They're just cardboard cutouts of birds that have targets drawn on them. So you can chill out and you don't need to come for this game. Focus on the more important things, like how your games showcase more animal cruelty than the things you're fighting. Sorry, PETA always gets to me. But if you found that entertaining and want to check out a whole list of me ranting about PETA, check out the top right corner where you can go see the top 10 PETA games you won't believe exist. It's a doozy, I promise.
And at 6, the Brookhaven Experiment. The Brookhaven Experiment is not an adaptation of a prior title, but does something interesting with the age-old genre. The zombie genre, that is. Brookhaven places you in the middle of a zombie horde. You're unable to move, and you need to kill them all, mow them down in waves, all while trying to conserve enough ammo to make it through to the end of the game. And it's scary as hell. It's a nice simple spin on the zombie survival horror subgenre that really manages to make players feel like they need to crap their pants in fear. It's available on the HTC Vive, Oculus Rift, and for Gear VR. Moving on, Organ Quarter. Organ Quarter may not be an adaptation of a pre-existing game, but it is a title that takes major inspiration from 90s horror games, the likes of the original Resident Evil and Silent Hill. Now it demands a whole lot of exploration. It's filled with challenging puzzles, and you've got to be super cautious about how you manage your inventory when you use certain items. The plot of the game is about a disease that's infecting a city with a grotesque body horror aspect to it, and it's super unsettling. So if you like gore-driven survival horror games, definitely check this one out. It's available for the HTC Vive and the Oculus Rift. Up next, number 4, The Inpatient. A VR game for the PlayStation created by Until Dawn's Supermassive Games, this title was one of the most highly anticipated VR titles of 2019. It's actually a prequel to the Until Dawn franchise, and places you in the Blackwood Pines Sanatorium. Get ready for a story filled with abuse, despair, and a whole lot of blood-chilling content. Each playthrough gives you different options, all of which will determine the outcome of the game in classic Until Dawn fashion. Replayability factor scores major points for this one, friends. It's available for the PlayStation VR.
Getting close to the end in number 3, Brush Up VR. Have you ever wanted to brush the teeth of a weird little blue monster that appears right behind you after you pick up your toothbrush? Well, if so, you really are into some weird things. Don't get me wrong, I'm not kink shaming, and oral hygiene is very important. At least that's what my dentist told me last time I was there a couple years ago. But why would you want this to happen? Anyway, the game just basically gives you a timer that makes you need to brush the teeth before the music stops, and it gets faster and faster as time passes, giving you an easy indication of your time left. And this game is an award winner. If you consider the Health Gaming Award for Innovation in Games and Simulation from America's prestigious Institute for Medicine in 2015 an award. The game is like $1.09 on Steam Canadian, which is probably like 65 cents American. Maybe you can educate your children on brushing, I don't know. The creators of this also have a mixed reality game that aids with brushing, which is probably the one that won the award, if I'm being honest. But like, you know, just a little blue dude, you brush his teeth, nothing more. Penultimately, in at number 2, I am Jesus Christ. Have you ever wanted to be Jesus Crisp? No? Just me? Well, how about Jesus? Yes, if you ever wanted to be Chuck from Supernatural, then you're golden with this game releasing in 2021. Also, I know that Chuck wasn't Jesus, just let me have this. If you're skeptical, I understand. A game claiming to let you be Jesus seems like a stretch. Well, to you mortals at least. However, this game is from the same team that brought you Thief Simulator, an incredibly fun VR game and flat game that I've played myself. I really want to play this game. As soon as I found out it existed, I went on Steam to purchase it, which then made me realize it's not releasing until 2021, which honestly is surprising considering how this is the year that we need the miracles. However, getting 2021 would be a miracle in and of itself. Either way, I plan on playing through this game as Jesus Crisp, and when they leave me to age while being crucified, I know it will be worth it. Aged cheese is always better, okay? Take it from the king. A nice aged Gouda, it's very tasty. You thought I was gonna make a cheese pun. Finally, in at number 1, Alien Makeout Simulator. Okay, here we go. The real reason you clicked on the video. You knew I was going to be including some weird kink crap on this list, and you know it was going to involve aliens. It was inevitable. The Alien Makeout Simulator game is exactly what you'd expect. Nothing more, nothing less. Well, maybe something less if you think I'd be able to find this with safe search off. There's nothing like that in this game, people. At least, I hope not. I can hear all the 12-year-olds typing trying to find out how to turn safe search off. Like, Alien Makeout Simulator is what it sounds like. You make out with an alien at some alien bar, and honestly, with the way the world is right now, maybe this is what you need. I won't judge. In these weird times, we can all get a little weird with the games we play. Man, I'm saying weird a lot. Especially when we haven't felt the touch of another for the better part of 6 months. Meaning that the only intimacy we can get is through games like this and Kanojo VR's developer mod. The game is an itch.io game, so it's gonna be a little harder to get working with others, but at this point, it's probably worth it. There we have it, friends, the top 10 weirdest VR games you need to play. I'm saying you need to play them, so I won't judge you for hopping on Steam or itch.io to, dare I say, scratch that itch. Get it? Because Scratch is also a coding program, and itch because itch.io. In a 10, Reputation. The Reputation mod is one of my favorite Skyrim mods because honestly it makes the game feel that, like, just that much more like an actual RPG. In the base game, no matter what you do, everyone will view you in the same way unless you actually do something for them specifically. Nothing actually changes depending on the choices you make or even the crimes that you commit. You could have slaughtered everyone in Solitude, but when you enter Whiterun, they just act like nothing happened. Well, this mod changes that. With the Reputation mod, everything that you do in the game will either make you more famous or more infamous. From certain quest lines to even how many bandits you've killed, everything you do will either make you more of a good guy or a bad guy. But no matter what way you go, there will be different effects. From even Nazim no longer disrespecting you, to being charged more at shops. The Reputation mod is such a subtle change that adds a huge amount to the game. It's great. You can even configure what actually inputs data and how much certain things affect your stats. You can even have the mod ignore the Dark Brotherhood questline, among others, which is recommended by me personally because, like, how would anyone know that you're a member of the Dark Brotherhood unless you walk around in the armor? And you can also choose how fast you become associated with law, crime, Adric devotion, Daedric taint. It's incredible, and I highly recommend this for role-playing purposes, okay? And if you like Skyrim mods, or just want me to talk more about what I'm passionate about, be sure you give this video a thumbs up and subscribe so I know, okay? I love this game so much, and I'm so happy that I can talk about it. I literally have one tattoo only, and it's a Skyrim one. I'd show you, but it's under the shirt, okay? And I'm wearing a Talos amulet. If I could do this more, that would be amazing for my mental health, so please justify it. In at 9, textures. The textures for Skyrim are very outdated, not really having been improved since its original release in 2011. But of course, there are mods for that. And this number isn't just about one specific mod, but rather multiple that keep true to vanilla while also ensuring that you aren't seeing pixels unless you squint. First up, obviously, is SMIM, aka the Static Mesh Improvement mod. Basically, it makes what would normally be a flat texture three-dimensional. The most noticeable changes for myself are the various ropes, chests, and barrels. The ropes on the various walls and structures, along with the ones on the barrels, can now actually be seen as ropes instead of just like tape with a rope design on it, and the chests finally look better than Minecraft's. While that is just a base and essential mod, you should also consider getting the Noble Skyrim's 2K textures with the SMIM patch, since this will make more of the game's textures feel like you're in another world instead of just actually in a game. And what Noble Skyrim misses, a Midian-born Book of Silence will cover, those things being the various armors in the game only. But still, keeping the look of the original armors but multiplying the texture quality exponentially. And then there's the NPCs as well. You can choose whatever you want. For this case, I personally use UMP and then Better Males for my NPCs, since they're only 2 mods, but they cover everyone, unlike like the Bidgen NPCs sets. But if you have other favorites like CBBE or the Windsong character overhaul, feel free to use those as well, and any other texture mods, okay? Like, you don't need to use these ones specifically, but you need some in general if you want Skyrim to feel more like a 2022 game. In at 8, Legacy of the Dragonborn. Legacy of the Dragonborn is one of the coolest Skyrim mods, and honestly for me, it's something that's not only cool but incredibly useful. With my brain never really wanting to remember literally anything, it's a place where I can not only store but also display all of my achievements in one given playthrough, and something that I have not yet completed 100% for obvious reasons. This mod adds a new location to Solitude called the Dragonborn Gallery, which is essentially a museum for your character, requiring you to collect all the items the curator wants to display. And if you want to use the items that you need to display, you can actually, if you have the right materials, make a replica of them, allowing for it to be on display, but also the good one in your inventory. Basically, this mod acts as a giant storage room with cool displays, a passive income through NPC donations, and adds a couple of cool new items to boot, and serves as a reminder of maybe a couple of items you haven't collected yet, and the ones that you've already found. Plus, the replica items mean that you can have the fake ones at the museum, and then the real ones in a separate room in your house if that's how you want to do it. And it's 7 BAM Squad. BAM Squad was probably pitched as a what if COD Zombies met Minecraft in virtual reality. This game is basically a co-op zombie shooter where you and up to 3 others need to defend a candy shop from a zombie horde. I don't know if these are zombies or just sugar-deprived North American children, especially Canadians. If we don't get our maple syrup, then we're getting the Mounties and every moose we can muster, and we're coming over for you, Miss Buttersworth. I just said that so I didn't offend any of the US people, because highest obesity rate. Anyway, honestly, I wonder what the lore of this game is. The Steam page straight up says the zombies are eating human flesh and candy, but if we waited long enough, would they just have resorted to candy, thus letting us walk by? Because if that's the case, then us trying to defend the candy shop is a terrible idea and we should feel bad. Us doing this could be directly contributing to the continuation of the zombie apocalypse. The way 2020 is going, that's a bad idea. And at 6, Swing the Cat. Swing the Cat, also known as Alinity Simulator, is one of the worst VR games on Steam. And I'm saying that when I have safe search off. This game is actually based on the saying not enough room to swing a cat in reference to the cat o' nine tails, a whip with 9 lashes. It means you have very little space in your area or are in cramped quarters, which is ironic for VR because, you know, I'm always punching the wall or myself in the face. The first use of this expression was recorded to be 1771, but I honestly don't know how they would know that, but whatever, I'm not one to judge. The game is basically the heavy ball toss from Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games. I know this is from actual sporting events, but I'm explaining it for the sheltered gamers out there, so chill in the comments section, okay? I was one of them. This game also came out in 2018, which is before all the Alinity crap went down, so it's not actually meant to be a stab at her. It may just have been where she got her genius ideas. Sarcasm. The game runs for $1.19 on Steam Canadian and 71 cents American, and all you need to do is throw a cat over and over. It's not much, but it's honest work. Halfway through at number 5, Accounting Plus. Accounting Plus is the other popular VR game on this list. The game was created by the designer of the Stanley Parable and the creators of Rick and Morty, so you know it's gonna be good. The game is so damn weird. You basically start off in an accounting office saying that the new and best way to do any accounting is in virtual reality, since time passes slower in real life when you're in the game. Like the way dreams work in Inception, the deeper you go, the faster you can get your work done. However, you don't actually do any accounting. I know, I'm sorry for the like 0.1% of you that were actually looking for a game about your lifelong accounting dream. Accounting Plus literally has you go through a forest that ends up being set on fire, the king of VR's chambers where you promptly kill him and wears hard as goggles. You then have a court session and a load of other stuff. And for all you theorists out there, you may already know, but there is a real mystery going on in the game called the zoo level. Apparently there is a secret zoo level hidden inside Accounting Plus that is the hardest level to reach in the game. It could have been found already, I'm not sure, but it could also just not exist. There's an entire level dedicated to the mystery of the zoo level in this game. It's really meta, but we honestly don't know if the level actually exists. The zoo level. The level about the zoo level exists. And at 4, Giant Cop. Have you ever wanted to fight crime by picking up a nudist on the beach and then yeeting them harder than Funtime Freddy yeets Bonbon? Well, then Giant Cop is for you. Take on the role of a 300-foot cop whose job location has literally changed their policing to benefit him. They have a giant catchment zone so that when you find criminals the chief calls to tell you about, all you need to do is throw them into the correct zone at the police station to arrest them, without reading them their rights. But I guess in a world where there's a 300-foot tall police officer who can literally use buildings as tennis balls, there isn't really any logic behind reading them their rights. That's probably why so many people keep committing crimes when there is literally a dude who will pick you up and yeet you more than my ass yeets out Taco Bell. Because they don't read their rights. They just get to leave. So like, they never really face justice. Is that how the law works? Hell, even cops don't know, am I right? And if you get mad about that statement, I meant the game. Getting close to the end, and at number 3, Open Cities. Open Cities Skyrim is my all-time favorite Skyrim mod ever. hands down, no competition. If you ask me what my favorite Skyrim mod is, this, Open Cities, because this mod removes load doors for major cities and makes them a part of the main world space. No longer do you need to load into Whiterun. Instead, you can just walk right in the gate. Or you can even jump over the walls if you're feeling a little stealthier. And considering how this is a VR version of the game, possibly the most immersive version that we ever can get, load doors kind of ruin that for me, okay? This mod is a bit computer intensive, which is why the cities are separate cells originally, but in my opinion, it's so worth it. There are patches for the Civil War and for other mods like Atlas map markers, since those can cause issues, and the Legacy of the Dragonborn mod also requires a patch to put the gallery in the New Solitude world space, but there are also secret doors into the city cells in each city, okay? Currently, I found the ones for Riften and Solitude, but it's still, like, it's such a good mod despite those conflicts. Notice board would also need a patch if you use that mod because I know it's popular, but trust me, if your computer can handle it, which it should, I mean my crap top could handle it, you should try it and you will never be able to live without it. And in VR it is so much better. Although there is one issue, it's no longer on the Nexus. Yeah, if you want this mod, you'll have to have it already downloaded for Special Edition, or find another link, which is incredibly unfortunate. But if you have it for Special Edition already, you're good, and if you can find another link, you'll be fine. Since Skyrim VR does work off the same engine as Special Edition, meaning that all Special Edition mods for the most part are compatible. And later I'm going to try adding some of the Creation Club content added in the Anniversary Edition, although I don't know about the compatibility on that. That's why I have to try it. But ultimately, in at number 2, VRIC. VRIC, also known as VRIK, is a simple mod, but an essential one for anyone playing Skyrim VR. VRIC, in its simplest terms, gives your player an actual body, so you're no longer just floating hands. This enables you to actually see the armor that you're wearing, giving you a reason to actually collect cool armors, which, let's be honest, is a solid third of the game's enjoyment. But it also just doesn't add your body. It gives you like weapon slots on that body, allowing you to have quick access to various weapons if you set them up properly. You can have your bow on your back and actually grab it over your shoulder. You can have your mace on your left hip, a torch on your right, and a dagger on your chest. You can even have daggers on your forearms or upper arms for easy access, you know? Oh, it's so good. And then you can switch between these as much as you want, as quickly as you physically can. Basically, it's like the hotkeys setup for favorites that the PC users have, but on your body. I also highly encourage the use of Dragonborn Unlimited, which is a voice recognition mod that allows you to equip spells and shouts by actually saying them, working for both Special Edition and VR, but VR is a little, you gotta get a separate thing for VR. But it's particularly useful in VR if you use magic frequently. My current character uses bound bows as main weapon, so being able to say it at a moment's notice when I need it is actually amazing. And by saying the shout words, I can actually equip them. So if I say Foos, it will equip Unrelenting Force. You're supposed to be able to like use the shouts by saying them, but that just crashes VR users currently. I don't know if they're working on that, but either way, both of these mods in tandem are amazing. Speaking of which, finally, in at number 1, Higgs and Plank. Speaking of amazing mods, okay, VRIC is a must-have for Skyrim VR, and it's also required for this mod, but these two mods are literally what Skyrim VR was missing. Originally, in VR, you felt like a ghost. At first, you were just two floating hands, but even after getting a body with VRIC, you couldn't interact with things. You could move objects, but it would be through like levitating them or by pushing them with a shield. Not anymore. Higgs, or Hand Interaction Gravity Gloves for Skyrim, is exactly what this game needed. Well, what it should have originally come with, but we know that Bethesda knew that the modding community would fix whatever issues they had with a simple VR port, okay? But like with Higgs, you can pick up items with your actual hands, you can push signs, you can move things with your weapon, but the focus being that you can use your hands to hold things. I cannot tell you how good this mod feels. Combining it with Plank, or physical animation and character kinetics, you can actually interact with NPCs with your hands as well, and they respond to your hits in a way that makes sense. You can finally grip two-handed weapons with both of your hands, and well, I'm sure you can think of other uses for being able to grab NPCs' limbs, but honestly though, this mod is good, even if you're not thinking about that. Being able to move bodies by actually dragging them makes the game so much better and improves the Dark Brotherhood questline significantly, and basically it makes the combat and gameplay as close to Blade and Sorcery as I can see it getting, at least for now, because the Skyrim modding community is always proving that it can be bigger and better than it was. Now all I need is like a throat-slitting VR mod and then Skyrim Together VR, and I'll be set for life. You'll never see me again.
And it's an Ice and Fire. Ice and Fire is a Minecraft mod that adds fictional, mythical beasts to Minecraft. Anything from dragons to wraiths, this mod has it. Sirens, pixies, deathworms, cockatrices, trolls, more than your typical YouTube comment section, sea serpents, cyclops, overpowered dragons, gorgons, hydras, and even things like werewolves, vampires, and wendigos are planned. This mod will throw you for a loop and will terrify you when you play it normally, let alone in virtual reality, where it seems like you're really there and in danger. And don't get me started on if you play this in hardcore mode. But also, if you do install this mod, turn down the amount of dragons that spawn in the config, okay? Turn the mountains and caves down because holy crap, they will literally be everywhere if you don't, and it will be impossible. And they'll just burn all your stuff. Just trust me on this. Number 9, SCP Lockdown. SCP Lockdown is a revamp and updated version of the SCP Craft mod. This mod adds a whole load of SCP creatures into the game, like most of the well-known ones, like Peanut and the Plague Doctor for example. The game includes 63 SCPs currently, and there are plans to add more, so they request that you don't ask for any specific ones, since the different abilities of the creatures have different levels of difficulty to code, especially with Minecraft. This mod even gives you debuffs if you don't sleep for long periods of time. I guess like the phantoms that were later added in the game. This mod runs on 1.12 currently and requires Forge, like the rest of these mods. However, it might be incompatible with Optifine, which is, I don't know how that's possible, because like it's Optifine, but oh well. Reading about SCPs is already scary when you think about the possibility of them being real. However, actually seeing them and experiencing them is a totally different story, especially when you can meet these suckers in virtual reality. And at 8, Mutant Creatures. Mutant Creatures is already a terrifying mod for me, with mutant versions of monsters like the Creeper, Skeleton, Zombie, and Enderman, along with some other odd pig spider thing that legit made me stop playing Minecraft for a year. Seeing these guys on your screen is fine, but when they're towering above you and looking absolutely horrific, that's where I draw the line. The freaking spider has a pig on its head and then a giant thorax and like really long legs, and it's the worst thing I've ever seen, and then put that in virtual reality. I could hardly handle Skyrim VR spiders. Why would I do this? Spider pig aside, the Mutant Creatures mod will surely give you a shock in virtual reality, so honestly, play this at your own risk, as long as it's compatible with VR. I know most gun mods aren't, so maybe some of these are incompatible too, but it's damn scary, okay? I'm just gonna tell you that. Don't do it. Just don't do it. Even if you think you're brave, don't. It's a bad idea.
And at 7, Immersive Speechcraft. Immersive Speechcraft is also an incredible roleplay mod, much like our Reputation. However, this time around, instead of making you more famous or infamous, this mod enables far more interactions with NPCs, some based on your speech skill level and relationship with said NPC. For example, you can ask them to follow you, the distance of which will be determined by your speech skill. You can barter with any NPC, you can command them like a follower, you can gift them an item, you can beg for gold, you can trick them, causing them to tie their shoe, you can instigate a fight, or you can make them strip because there was a bee in their clothes. For those options though, you can't really be wearing a helmet or something that covers your face, because you know it's rude. Or if you have your weapon drawn, you can actually mug NPCs, and if you're in combat, you can ask nearby NPCs for help, or you can just tell them to run and save themselves. The likelihood of these working is reliant on your speech skill, but I do believe that using these options successfully will also help increase that skill. So no longer will you need to just spend ages bartering with shopkeepers to level up your speech. And it allows for more roleplay opportunities for jokesters or thief characters, as well as allowing you to kill Nazim in the middle of Whiterun by calling his mother a horker. And at 6, Encounters. Skyrim's random world encounters help make the province feel more alive and lived in, but there are only so many locations that you can encounter these events, and only so many of the actual events themselves, meaning that by the time you complete the main questline and start on the DLCs, you may have even seen the same one multiple times. There are multiple mods that aim to fix this, and those are some that I'm suggesting to you. Firstly, I suggest you get the mod that enables the vampire attacks against cities again, since that's a little more interesting than just chilling in Whiterun normally. And there's also the been too long since we had a good bandit raid mod, which allows bandits to actually attack Whiterun like the guards say happened regularly, but seemingly doesn't once you show up. But also some more general encounter mods, like the Immersive World Encounters, which is, from my understanding, the most popular one. It adds 100 random new events, 2 of which turn into full-on quests. There's also the Extended Encounters mod, which allows you to actually see NPCs out in the wild doing their thing depending on the progress quests that you've made so far with like the factions and whatnot. And there's also Dragonstone Encounters, a mod that adds some extra region-specific encounters for you to find and also enables like encounters after you've fast traveled, like oh someone was following you. There's also immersive patrols, which works well for those who enjoy seeing prisoners being escorted or maybe a group of Dawn Guard on watch, and I don't know, these make Skyrim feel more like the great province that it's supposed to be instead of what just at times feels like a barren wasteland, because that's immersion breaking. Halfway through into number 5, touring carriages. For those who want to stay away from fast travel, touring carriages is an incredible mod, turning what would normally be a loading screen into an actual journey where you can get out for a moment to discover nearby locations, ask about the region that you're currently in or going to, or where you can just fall asleep and be woken up when you get there, which is essentially the vanilla version of fast traveling carriages. Combined with the VR Fix mod on the Nexus, touring carriages is great for roleplay and immersion. It's especially useful if you're using some form of VR treadmill like the Catwalk C2, since at that point you're legally required to prevent fast traveling, at least in my eyes, because if you're lucky enough to use an omnidirectional treadmill, or I guess technically slide mill for VR, you can't fast travel, okay? That's wrong. You have to experience Skyrim properly, okay? I want one of those. I think it would be like such an incredible experience for single player adventure games, but they're very expensive. I'm working on it though, okay? And when I do get one, I am absolutely keeping touring carriages because it's such an immersive way to make long journeys and I won't actually have to walk it. And it works with the carriages at the Hearthfire homes as well. In at 4, Realm of Lorkhan. Alternate Start Live Another Life is an essential Skyrim mod. Okay, it's one of the most influential and inspiring mods out there, enabling you to not have to be the Dragonborn, either until you're ready or maybe even not at all. However, the normal version of the mod for Skyrim Special Edition does not work in VR. You won't even be able to load up the game. So Realm of Lorkhan is a very good second choice. The mod is a visually stunning alternate start mod that lets you customize your character even more than alternate start, being able to give you curses or blessings before even loading in, and being able to start with more than just base spells or gear, assuming that you can find them in the realm before you drop into Nirn. You'll be set and ready for action with any backstory that you choose. I'm using it right now for a special video on my personal channel where I explore my current load order for Skyrim VR with some role-playing thrown in here and there, but this thing is visually stunning, okay, and it provides far more options and combos than Alternate Start. Alternate Start is the OG though, I still love it, but for VR, Realm of Lorkhan. And the 3, Herobrine mod. Herobrine is one of the most famous creepypastas of all time, so when we heard he was added to the game via mod, it was unbelievable, but also highly expected. The mod is simple. Summon Herobrine and he'll start messing with your world and scaring you on a regular basis. And honestly, in VR this would be so cool. Not just cool because you get to experience Herobrine, but also scary in the best way. This guy will spawn lava, zombies, himself, evil chickens, lightning, and more. He has traps, he will stalk you, and he has many houses and structures for you to be killed in. And he'll scream at you randomly, because that's the kind of person he is. This mod was made way back in 2012, but it's updated to 1.7.10. The mod won't even let you sleep all the time, giving you nightmares on occasion. That'll give you like a little adventure map that will totally throw you for a loop. If you're looking for a good Minecraft VR horror experience but don't want something too bad, go with the Herobrine mod. And then 2, Epic Siege. Epic Siege is a monster mod that doesn't add monsters, but definitely buffs the current ones, like giving creepers the ability to blow up walls to get to you, or having spiders web you to the floor, or the best one, making zombies just as powerful as you, letting them build, break blocks, and even place TNT to get to you, even though the TNT thing might be another mod. Anyway, this mod makes the enemies work like a team, and they will be able to get to you no matter where you hide, so you better get some good defenses going, because goddamn, they will be after you. And they will kill you. You will never be safe. Endermen can teleport you instead of themselves. Yeah, screw having 3-block high ceilings if the Enderman will be that overpowered. Zombies are able to dig blocks to get to you, and that's just something I'm not okay with, okay? No. Stop it. Get some help. Finally, in at number 1, Forever Nightmare. Forever Nightmare is a mod pack I've played on this channel before. It's actually the mod pack I was referencing earlier when I said I fought a spider in VR. This mod pack makes the game permanently night and makes the dark practically instant death, and just makes you want to cry at every turn. Why? Because the YouTuber decided to make it happen.
Yes, this mod pack was developed by YouTuber Chosen Architect and is available on the Twitch launcher, aka Curse. However, it's not VR compatible, so you do need to copy the mods and then add them to your own personal Minecraft mods folder and then add Vibetrap to get it to work, but then you end up getting a day cycle, which in this case is good because you'll need it. Minecraft in this mod pack in VR is the most horrifying thing I've experienced, and I've played FNAF VR and The Forest in VR. And that one's even worse, even when there's no monsters. I'm also just a little but still, only do this if you really want to, but if you're only debating it, do something else first. And feel free to combine mods on this list and make something truly terrifying.
And at 10, Skyrim. While Skyrim is not a horror game per se, there are still giant spiders. And if you mod the game, it can technically become a horror game. But the base game still has plenty of things to find terrifying in virtual reality. A dragon? That's still scary every time I see one. Like I said earlier, giant spiders exist in the world, and that's not okay. Draugr are terrifying, and the crypts are especially spooky. The game is scary when experiencing it from the perspective of the character you're playing. Sure, you play it in first person normally, but literally experiencing it is something else entirely. If you have the ability to experience this in VR, I highly recommend it because it's haunting. I love Skyrim and I love being able to experience it in VR, but Skyrim is literally the only VR game that I have seen crash. Like, of course it has to be a Bethesda game, right? Of course it does! I also had it modded all to hell, but still, only Skyrim would be capable of something like that. Only Skyrim. It's not a bug, it's a feature. Gotta say that every time. And at 9, Dread Halls. Surviving in a dungeon is not an easy task. You are trapped inside a massive dungeon. Explore it, survive it, and try to find a way to escape, if you can. Your only weapons are stealth, courage, and a lantern you must keep lit using oil found around the dungeon. The game debuted in 2013 at the Oculus and Indiecade VR Jam and has been terrorizing people ever since. The game has you exploring dungeons without any way of defending yourself. All you have is a light that needs to be refilled on a regular basis. The dungeons are also procedurally generated, meaning it will be different every time, like a Minecraft world. Each one will be special. The fact that you have no way of defending yourself is probably one of the ways this game terrifies you, along with horrifying monsters and a terrifying atmosphere, especially in VR. I find things spooky when I can't really see that far ahead of me, and one game where I really experienced this is Dungeon Night VR, where you travel through a procedurally generated dungeon and kill monsters and stuff. But that game spooks me because you can only see like 7 feet ahead of you. But combine that with no defense and monsters whose only purpose is to kill you, and you'll have nothing other than brown pants. And maybe even brown shirts. Plus your light can go out and that's just no. And at 8, The Forest. If you know me at all, you would know that this was gonna be on the list. While the normal version of this game is honestly terrifying, VR is worse, even when the monsters are disabled. Combine a plane crash and your son being kidnapped with cannibalistic humanoid monsters and mutants with 6 arms and 5 legs, and you get The Forest. When you play the game in VR, you don't have anywhere near enough protection. The scariest feature is by far the caves. Sure, the night may be haunting, but the caves are even worse, with hanging bodies, dead passengers everywhere, and there is also bloody chunks all over the floor, not to mention dismembered limbs and dismembered bodies. And those mutants also reside in these caves and are sometimes stronger because of it. The atmosphere combined with the cries and screams of the cannibals is enough to make anyone run away screaming, and then hit a wall because they're in VR. And seeing one of those mutants towering over you or high in the air as they jump to strike will scare you so bad your parents will have to put you in the hospital. Multiplayer mode slightly reduces the scare factor, but when you're literally seeing it pressed onto your face, it's a little hard to fight back the fright all through the night. That's probably a Scooby-Doo title. Don't know why I said that, but whatever.
And at 7, Mobends. Mobends is like one of the worst mods, but like not in like it's a terrible mod sense, but like it makes spiders even creepier. This thing adds new animations to mobs and the player, making them feel more realistic and less blocky, including making zombies limp, better run animations for the player, and spider knees and jump animations, making them some of the scariest damn things ever. It doesn't change your game in any way other than adding these bends and modifying the skeleton of the mobs, but it's just still gross. So if you want a vanilla experience but you want your game to make you brown your pants, this one's for you. You saw how I reacted when I fought the spider in Minecraft VR that one time, right? Yeah. That's how I'd react with this, but 10 times worse because it's even creepier this time around. And if you add a mod that makes things darker, oh baby, no thank you. I know this and the last number were based on spiders, but come on, can you blame me? I'm arachnophobic. It's what we do. And at 6, Slender mod. While Slender the Arrival supports the Oculus Rift, there won't be anything scarier than hearing the sound of every light source around you breaking, and then hearing the even familiar sound of the static as Slenderman approaches you. The Minecraft mod, while not the scariest, is still some of the best fun you'll have in Minecraft VR. Hearing a load of glowstone breaking around you is always unsettling, but when you realize that they broke because Slenderman is nearby, that's gonna be even worse. Nothing can save you from the icy cold grip of death this time. Sure, it's just a game, he can't hurt you. Bull. He will escape the game, and then you'll be living through the Slenderman movie. And I think that is probably the scariest thing of all. Do you really want to be a part of that mess? Even if you do, throw a shader with some good fog into this mod, and you'll be leaking some of How I Met Your Mother's Randy's signature Warmpus beer right down your leg. Yeah, it'll happen. Halfway through number 5, Resident Evil. Resident Evil is already scary, and even worse in VR, so what do? Add it into a blocky world and then cause all sorts of panic when you have to run away from the blocky blob infested with the T-virus. The Resident Evil mod adds plenty of the Resident Evil monsters to your game, replaces the sound effects, and will just all around make you crap yourself, even though you've done it to yourself. The mod runs on version 1.12.2 and may be updated later down the line, but I don't know. Why is it that every mod is for 1.12 and not for 1.16? It's been out for a while, okay? We've been stuck inside with nothing to do. Like, why are we still doing things in a version before the damn Village and Pillage update? How long has it been since that came out? Man, it's been a while, okay? Can we just get the good mods to update, please? I want netherite if I'm gonna be fighting off the living dead with some freaking bodybuilder juice. Can't say the real term, because YouTube censors. Gotta love our powerful overlords, right? And at 4, Stalker Creeper. Stalker Creeper, or maybe known as something else these days, is a simple but horrifying mod that will jump scare you on a regular basis. Remember how creepers will come up to you when they see you and then explode when they get close? Yeah. Throw that out the window. They'll now follow you for miles, not exploding until the perfect time. Well, it's actually when you see them. They will stay glued to your ass like they're your boyfriend, because when you turn around it will practically be taking up the same block as you. Like, if this creeper got any closer, it would have to start paying child support. Not to mention that when you do see it, it will explode practically instantly, making you have to ensure that you have some sort of measure to check when you get home, like a pressure plate with a light, for example, so that if it lights up twice, you know you have one behind you and you can place water or something to trap it. But Jesus Christ, I don't think that I want this in VR. Could you imagine just turning around and seeing the face of a creeper right beside your face? Like lust in its eyes? And then just without warning, it explodes on you? Nasty.
And at 2, Ghost Town Mine Ride and Shooting Gallery. This is something I'd probably be willing to play on the channel. Ghost Town Mine Ride and Shooting Gallery is what it says it is. A shooting gallery with a ride that takes you on a journey where you're busting up targets like Boo Blaster on Boo Hill or the Guardian of Wonder Mountain. Sorry, my Canadian is showing. Like Lost Kingdom Adventure or Men in Black Alien Attack, if you can remember any of those. Just think Toy Story Midway Mania. But the game has a twist. This shooter appears to be actually haunted, with people popping out of nowhere and pickaxes being thrown at your face. You know that this is gonna be one wild ride. See what I did there? I'm sorry. But I'll have to leave everything up to you. If you want me to play it, let me know below. It's only $10 on Steam, so it's more likely that I play this rather than 5 Nights, unless you all really want it. Because money. Finally, in at number 1, Paranormal Activity: The Lost Soul. Before you ask, no. Not playing it on the channel. Described as the scariest VR game ever by IGN, Paranormal Activity: The Lost Soul is a chilling first-person horror adventure where you take on the role of a paranormal investigator as you search a house with an original story. You're armed with, as they call it, a battery-hungry flashlight, meaning you need to get a new one. You start by exploring a quiet woodsy neighborhood before happening upon a house that you soon discover never lets you be alone. You keep discovering the clues about what's happening, unraveling the horrific mystery of what's gone down in this house, as you struggle to survive the terror that haunts you. If you are a fan of the Paranormal Activity franchise or want to ruin any pair of pants you have, you should try this game. It's a hefty $30 on Steam, but if this is what you're into, I'm sure it's worth the price. This game is also playable in a non-VR setup.